A little bit different way you have every class, but it's basic.
No, I want it first.
Yeah, I'll give it that. I don't think I
I
have.
can try that.
Send it to the print shop.
I can be the best at burning copper
A
sulfate.
little handout, but we got right an essay. Yeah, wait, that's the way life is. Could the essay be on the Industrial Revolution? Oh my goodness, that's almost like it's planned. Only 280 milligrams of salt per serving? What do you mean salt? I'm looking at recipe. 105 milligrams of salt. Oh, wow. You got to have a lot of salt in your lemonade, everybody. Why do they put salt in soft drinks?
Because it's salty.
To make you thirsty. So you drink more and buy more. Why do they put so much sugar in it? To cover up the salt. See? We're all being manipulated. You and I'm going to check that one. Someone had a can of Red Bull first period that had like, I don't know, like 40 milligrams of salt or 40 milligrams or 40 grams of sugar. It was crazy. So much sugar. I know it's hard to escape it. That's how they trick us. That's what we call monopoly. Monopoly. By the way, there it is again, the invisible hand of the marketplace giving us the finger. Who came up with the invisible hand of the marketplace? Who was that person who wrote The Wealth of Nations? Adam Smith. And what economic system was created out of the Industrial Revolution? Capitalism. Also, just to review, capital is what?
Things you own.
The means of production. What is not capital? People. People are not capital. Unless they're what? Enslaved people, yes. And what decides invisible hand in the market? That's the interaction of what two things in the marketplace that sets price? Supply and demand. What sets wages, by the way? And if profits go up, what happens to wages? Has no effect, no direct effect. Profits go down, no direct effect. Which you can see why people were so upset with the wage system. You work harder, you don't get the profit. Oh, I told you about division of labor. What is it called? Division of labor increases efficiency because workers, for worker, they have more outcome. What is that term called? You remember that because the division of labor, the term for the amount of output. I'm trying to use it. Look at your division of labor. See if you can find that. There's a word for that. The more
Productivity.
make per person.
Productivity. Efficiency.
Someone said what? Productivity. Productivity, the amount, I kept trying to find a way, I want to say the amount you can produce. No way, that's productivity. The amount you can produce per person. With machines, it can go up. That means more efficient. Speaking of more efficient, who has a competitive advantage, big or small? And what is that called? Someone said it? Economies of scale, the iron rule of economics. And every company has risk. They want to get rid of the competition and create something that operates like a monopoly. Did we get into laissez-faire economics?
Yes.
So laissez-faire economics, did we go through, how far did we get? Did we get here?
Encourage immigration.
Yeah, immigration. And you notice what section of the country do most of the immigrants go? This map shows it. It's map reading time.
North.
North or south? East, west?
North.
Up or down? The north. Remember, did the colonial economies way back and how more diversified the northern economies were? In the colonies, colonial America back in the 1750s? Well, this is the beginning of the outcome. I should add a bunch of combination of people from this territory and then politicians from the new state of Minnesota and railroad executives. They went to places that would now become known as Germany and recruited a bunch of people to go to Minnesota. And they also went to one more place. It was Sweden, but Sweden would break in two, and that part of Sweden is now called Norway. And that's how come Minnesota has that tradition. A lot of Germans, a lot of Norwegians. All right, of that descent. And then lastly, This is another example of conservative economics. It's close to trickle down. That's going to come in the 20th century. Now, liberal economics, which will be called Keynesian, that is coming, but it still was not definite. Oh, by the way, I went through all the things of Adam Smith. What was the reaction that looked at what capitalism was doing, how it concentrates wealth, and it said capitalism is inherently corrupt? What was that philosophy called?
Socialism?
Yeah, that's socialism, which is an economic system, also kind of a political system, and that too would come out of the Industrial Revolution. Oh, the Industrial Revolution created so much. And so let's get then, do we get this? We did not get this. We have a brand new world. A brand new world. Now, I put the asterisk by 1815 because it wasn't overnight. But you can see it coming. In Britain, it's a little bit earlier. Families before the Industrial Revolution, they were producers. They were relatively self-sufficient. They made the products at home. And this picture, the kind of creepy one showing the very scary eyes right here. That guy, it's a whole family working together. And they had to work together. That is both good and bad. They work, and, oh, I should add, who's the most important person there? Aren't they all kind of equally important? Economically, they're all pretty equal. I mean, the older could probably produce more, but they're all necessary. The whole family, every person is necessary. That is going to change dramatically with the Industrial Revolution. Oh, now this would be the same thing on a farm. Why have big families? Because kids are what? Workers. Yeah, they're not necessarily free because they eat. I don't know if you know this, but children eat. Yeah, I figured that one out myself. So it just came to me. And next, and did you know U.S. for the United States is also us? Next, they call this cottage industry the putting out system. And what literally meant is people were independent, but orders by merchants were put out to individual families, to produce whatever it might be. Here they're sewing clothes. So they put out, and so they worked when they wanted. So they could be like, we're going to put in sun up to sundown today and tomorrow, and then not work for the rest of the week. And we can do what we want. And there's stories about this life, as long as there was a skilled artisan who required a higher pay, being quite pleasant. Still dangerous and difficult, but pleasant. Next. They're relatively independent. Sure, they might take an order, but they're on their own. They decide what they do. And remember I told you they drank a lot more back then? Yeah, Sunday was a day they would kind of drink all day, alcohol, everybody, all ages. And if they didn't want to work the next day, they wouldn't work. If they didn't want to get up early, they wouldn't get up. They were independent. And lastly, pay is based upon either skill level or hard work. A lot of it had to do if you were a skilled artisan. The higher your skill level, the more you were paid. And they would go through years of training as an apprentice, then a journeyman, then an artisan to demand higher pay. And hard work, if you want to take as many orders as you can and get it all done and get more orders, that's up to you. Or not. Hard work was rewarded. And so that's the system. And even if most families built by 1830, 1840 are still basically living this lifestyle, they can see the change coming. And it's terrifying. Because what is the change after 1815? Families became consumers. With the Industrial Revolution and the Transportation Revolution, they could buy products they didn't have to make. And very quickly, they lost those skills, or they're working in a wage job where they can't make it. So now they're dependent upon somebody else to get their products. I mean, think about it today. What do we have now that you made from scratch? Almost nothing. I bet you'd be hard-pressed to find things that you made solely from scratch. Yeah, you don't make the flour. Yeah. And I was thinking about this for I was talking about this with somebody else about food. And how many different types of food that we eat because we can buy it at a restaurant and don't have to go through the process of preparing and cleaning up. Where at home, it's kind of difficult to do because you have a lot of work to do. Because I was thinking about something I like because they're really good for you called French fries. Have you ever made French fries at home? It's a lot of mess. So it's a lot easier to have someone else do the mess. Onion rings even harder, which are like a perfect health food. Next, the factory system. No longer is it putting out orders. You go to one common location and you work there. And they have all the capital, the machines. And as the machines become dominant and labor by hand is being made obsolete and inefficient and going out of business, you got to go there. So it's a totally different system. And so you have to go on their rules. And therefore, the merchant capitalist is in charge. You're not independent. You're dependent upon that wage and where to work. And all of you, if you apply for a job and want to get a job, you know what that's like. You have to go kind of, it's almost feeling like you're begging for the job, even though they need you to maximize profits. It has that feeling like you're just dependent upon them. And it's now the wage system. Skill, and I should have put down hard work. No, doesn't matter necessarily. That's a big shift. And you work harder, don't get the profit. It goes to the merchant capitalists, which is, of course, why they take the risk. But there's one issue about that. You know, how many merchant capitalists can there be? How many Bill Gates can there be? There's a finite number, and the answer is one. So there's only so much you can do, so you're kind of dependent upon somebody else. And so what we call this whole thing is the market revolution. Now, this is a relatively new term. You see this in textbooks more and more. So it's a term we have to be familiar with. I was not taught about the market revolution. It's just not what they called it. But it's everything that came out of the Industrial Revolution. That new economic system, the transportation system, and then the boom in finance, where they learned if you're in finance, you might actually make more than actually building the products, which is the way it is today. Speaking of Bill Gates made significantly more money out of finance than he ever did for Microsoft. Significantly more. Right? That's why Elon Musk is wealthy. It had nothing to do with his car company. It was the finance involved with it. It's the car company or the government subsidies he got. So finance became a way to make money. And this is actually the stock market crash of 1837, the panic. So this is called the market revolution. If you see that, that's what it's referring to. It's referring to that. And it's not, and the big issue was that it kind of focused the wealth and power to those who could get the capital and then the monopoly. And so we have to get to the reactions or the effects of the Industrial Revolution. The reactions or the effects of this new changing world. It's going to change everybody's core belief. Everybody, from religion all the way down to their existence. It's going to change scientific beliefs. This is radical stuff. Change culture, how lives, families, you name it. And one of the big movements will be temperance, to try to stop drinking. And this is called the drunkard's progress. And the thing about the Industrial Revolution is this. Now, it goes from we're producers, we making it, to we need that wage. And the family's got to survive on that wage. And what happens if one of the members of the family, aka him, drinks the wage away? What happens to the kids? What happens to the mother? It's a different equation once you have the Industrial Revolution. Combined with factory owners want sober workers because it increases efficiency. So they're really going to push this. So here it is, the drunkard's progress. Having a couple drinks, going out and having fun out in the town with a drink. And here it is, kind of brawling outside, talking about it. Here, drunk and acting like they're having fun. Here, drinking it all away, going to poverty, no friends, turning to robbery. See the gun right there? And then you see what happens here. Yeah, it's not very subtle, is it? Not subtle at all. But temperance was a new thing, brand new. And many of the, there's now religious restrictions within Christianity about drinking. Those are Industrial Revolution. So, family life changed dramatically. Families begin to move away. You know, basically you have nuclear families all living together. So you have everybody from the grandparents, parents, children all living together. So they're working together or living right next to each other. To where now, especially on the farms or where you have these big families, now you got to send the kids away to find a job and they move away. You know, this is almost like the norm now. You know, thinking about it, you know, I live 400 miles from my parents now. And that's pretty normal. My brother lives about 1,500 miles from his parents. And that's the norm. With that, you can meet new people, especially with the railroads. You can go out and find and meet new people. This would radically change marriage. You can find people who aren't cousins to marry. Now, I know I sound like I'm joking, but I'm not joking that much. If everybody's related to you, I think you might see the issues. This might actually be a positive. You want to meet people that aren't your cousin and therefore your, you know, might have mutants as children, but might not have anybody that looks like the Habsburgs. And this is a big deal. Go out and meet different people, exchange ideas, really change marriage a lot. And people started marrying a lot younger. Before the Industrial Revolution, you really couldn't get married till you were established. So if you're trying to be an artisan, it might take 15 years to learn how to become a puddler, steel maker. So you're not going to get married till you can do that. Or a farm, might take years for, let's say, a young man to get either land or the inheritance of the farm. So it was very common to get married much later, especially for men into their mid-30s, for women late 20s. The Industrial Revolution hit, and boom, people started getting married in their teens overnight, especially early on. Like, oh, we could get a job, we'd have money, everything changed, our prospects changed, and then we get married. Yeah, for example, like this was pretty normal, and then in the Great Depression, people just quit getting married. And then World War II, they got married in 3 minutes because you never know what's going to happen in war. And then after World War II, really started getting married young again. And that's been steadily going up in the last 40 years, the average age of getting married. So married younger and much more urban. And the whole idea is a family life. Urban, you know, that's where the jobs are. You have to go where the factories are. How people ate changed. Have you heard of the term lunch? That came out of the Industrial Revolution. That was dinner, now it's lunch. And lunch would change how they eat, how to do something quick, because you only got half hour, got 20 minutes, eat something quick. It changed the way people eat. It also popped up things that did not exist. Inns and taverns, you could go eat where, and they would prepare food, were pretty rare. All of a sudden, more restaurants that serve fast food. Obviously, the fast food would be different than what we're used to. We got to eat fast. And people would degrade this. How dare they change the diet? Everyone's going to be so healthy. They're writing about unhealthy. They'll be writing about that in the 1840s. I just think it's funny, every generation they do that. I should add one more thing about the diet. By the end of the century, people started eating significantly more meat because of the transportation revolution and the industrial revolution, and to get meat to market. Meat is protein. What happened to the average height of people? It started going up because of this. Now there's issues with meat too, all kinds of issues, of course, like with any other thing to eat, but that was a big radical shift. Air conditioning would refrigeration, they started doing with steam engines about 1840, but it'd be practical about 1880, all of a sudden people changed. Furniture, now you didn't make it, you bought it. It became a status symbol to buy furniture for people who were middle class who used to not be able to afford it. Also homes, housing construction. There used to be a plank method where you literally just kind of stack the planks up, kind of stack the walls up by plank, and as you went, you nailed them together, then put the roof on. 1840s, they had to make homes quicker, and so they started making what's called balloon framing. If you ever seen a house made, that's what they use now. Foundation, see where they make the frame, put the siding, then the roof up. If you ever see a house built, that's what they do now. That was an invention of the Industrial Revolution. It's actually a much better way to make houses too. But after the Civil War, they have prefabricated houses. Just changed everything. But not only that, think how it changed the family and women. Women lost economic value. I don't know why I have an arrow there, but women have lost economic value. Dramatically. Remember I said about the home production, everybody's important? Well, for the vast majority of the families, once somebody got a wage job, that was the husband. He went off. That's the value. What he makes is how the family survives. Not overnight, they'll still do some stuff at home, but I think you get the point. And so what value does women have? That's coming. Their economic value tanked, just tanked. And if they did have to get a wage job, it was seen as weird, unusual, and usually lower pay. And that was basically implying that they were very poor. Women lost value, and women did not like this. They could tell. So what came out of this was a remaking of what a woman is. And it came from the Industrial Revolution. Well, first off, they became a lot more dependent upon men. Now, of course, the whole family was dependent on each other. Now, you gotta get married. You gotta get married. You have to. Everyone catch it? Women have to get married. Now, there's been a stigmatism to control women for years to say that women who are married, there's something wrong with them, they're old maids. But when the Industrial Revolution began, wow, there's something wrong with them if they're not married. And they're going to have a difficult time surviving. A very difficult time. This was kind of a catastrophe for women. And they lost legal and political rights. Women were always kind of property once they got married, but that became legalized. They became the property of men. I can still remember going into well into the 1970s that women could not get a checking account unless it was co-signed by their husband or father. Adult, a checking account. I can also still remember my mom being referred to well into the 1980s as not Mary Partridge, but Mrs. Jerry Partridge. I can still remember that. She was, no, Jerry's my dad. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, she wasn't referred to as her name. It was Mrs. Well, that was very common. So that, and you might say, well, that's a long time ago. If somebody was alive at that time near you, can remember that, it really isn't that long ago. It really isn't. So, there were a number of states that women with property could vote. That all ended with the Industrial Revolution. All of it ended. And so, get back to that one thing. If there's this kind of belief, and it's false, but we all kind of want to have it, I think, that there's kind of like a progress of rights. We keep going up. No, it's forward, back, forward. It's a lot of times 2 steps forward, a step and a half back. And so what it became? Well, husbands go off to work. And what role do women have? More importantly, what role can we convince women to have so they don't complain? I'm just telling you what was the thinking. Well, what is their role? They go off to work. We have to convince them. No, you're supposed to do this and it's a good thing. And here is this role of women. We're going to stay at home, and we'll have a name for this. You be at home. And I like how this is actually a really good one. This is a lithograph. Also, now you can put like pictures up on the wall. And this is from the 1850s. Home Sweet Home was a popular song of the 1850s. And you have her, the children. No doubt he's in charge, right? He's the one standing. Not a doubt. Okay. It's called the cult of domesticity. And this was created in the Industrial Revolution. Where's the first place that did it? The cult of domesticity was not invented in the United States. Where was it invented? Say it again? Yeah, in Britain, because that's where the Industrial Revolution began. It began in Britain. And this was the idea of this true woman. This is the way women were supposed to be. This is the way women were always supposed to be. While the man goes off to work, the women have one role, and that's what they're supposed to be. Oh, I should add, this was called middle class values. And so it's trying to imitate, okay, saying, okay, we were all poor, scrabbling for a living, but without the Industrial Revolution, we could all live that upper class lifestyle, but still have to work, AKA middle class. So this would be called middle class values. And what is their one role? To keep a good home, to get married and keep a good home. That's their role. Here you said this was in there all with new publishing techniques because of the Industrial Revolution. There are all these women's magazines like McCall's and various ones. They actually had a few women writers, but most of them were written by men, telling women how to be. And here's a frame from it. And you can see behind, see the words behind? So this is actually a photocopy of an old magazine. And it says the sphere of women at home, caring for the children. And they will teach the morality and the values to the children. That is their job. Your one role, get married so you can keep that home. Nobody cared before the Industrial Revolution if the home is clean. You're trying to survive. Now, if the home is clean, that woman's a failure. So that's their only job. And of course, I got to be honest with you. If the woman does have to go to work because they have no choice, she still has to do that job. Let's be very clear. And that's generally kind of the way it is today. In most families today, even most women work along with men. They're still the primary child. And this idea was women are outside of that nasty world of business and finance and the grimy world of that. They are pure and noble. That's why they call it a cult. Now, don't think a cult like some of you might be thinking of a cult that became popular, the term in like the 60s and 70s in the United States, of like a religious cult where they bring people in and change their identities, and some were doomsday cult. Cult is more thinking in the terms of something to be worshipped. So women are above that. So this is actually men are saying, no, you're supposed to have no economic value because we placed you on a pedestal to be worshipped. And so people will come out of this in a couple generations thinking this is the way women are supposed to be. And they've always been this way. No, it wasn't like this. This is the cult of domesticity. And this is a big deal. And we see elements of this to this very day. I always think about whenever I see something about an advertisement on television or whatever, and it's somebody cleaning a house, and isn't it always still a woman doing it? And if it is a man, it's almost like, the man's outside of their world and screwing up. And the woman will take care of it. In fact, I just saw an ad for something about that, and like it's supposed to be a husband and wife, but she's kind of laughing at what an idiot her husband is, because her husband's often more important things outside the household. That's what the woman's role is. And so it still exists. This was not the traditional roles created by the Industrial Revolution. But you get this idea about them being put on a pedestal. And then, out of that, a concept would be called, this actually goes back to before the Industrial Revolution, but it's called Republican womanhood. With this idea that, okay, if women are responsible for the morals and values of the children, they'll teach them to be good citizens. Now, this would also be combined with education. And here is a cartoon from a different thing. It's more modern one, but this idea, I'll go take care of the important stuff, or you stay here and educate the children. And so the idea would be that women would be taught at a very young age. Girls would be taught. You better get married and be a good wife and care for your husband. And who would teach them this? Their moms. This is your life. And if you want to do something else, there's something weird, there's something wrong with it. You want to do anything else. I should add, that would be the first women's rights movement, would stem a little bit from that, but you really see that in the 1960s. It wasn't that they were opposed to being married, it was that was our only choice for success. And speaking of that, what of children? The Industrial Revolution would totally change the relationship between parents and children. Okay, what were children? Why did families have big? Why did they have big families? Workers. Yeah. Hey, you, work. They might even know their names. It will all change with the Industrial Revolution. I'm exaggerating. Of course, they probably knew the names of their children. Of course they did. But still, there's different reasons. There's an incentive to have a big family. What happened to the number of children once the Industrial Revolution began? Dramatically. Because children went from being part of this producing family to a massive expense on one wage. Kids eat a lot. And they wear clothes. And they demand things like a bed and warmth. Did you know that? And there's something else about children, which actually they kind of surprised me. I didn't learn this until relatively recently. Kids start out really small, and then they get bigger. And their clothes don't grow with it.
That's ridiculous.
If you have one wage, now you have to think about it. And this is what we have to get. Family shrunk. With the Industrial Revolution became family planning. So everyone write down family planning, where you have to think and focus on how many children you're going to have. You have to think about it. You have to, okay, how many can we afford? And so they went from being, we need them for work, to we want to have them. And if we want to have children, we should be nice to them. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but still, yeah, they want to be nice. Do things for them. Write down this. It's no coincidence. Industrial Revolution, fewer children, what happened to the value of education? Went up. Because if you're deciding to have kids, don't you want them to have a better life? Isn't that a goal? They want them to have a better life. And so with that, education went up. What else? Well, we want to be nice to our kids. Might there be a holiday that will all of a sudden become popular and change 180 degrees? It could be any holiday. I have no idea what it could be. The first police force, permanent police force in the United States would be in New York City in 1820 to stop Christmas. Because what was Christmas? A drunken 12-day brawl. It's become really common to go break stuff and play pranks and do all this stuff. And they, no, can't have that. Within 40 years, it's this. Giving of gifts to children. Christmas was not an important holiday for Christians. Soon it would become a very important secular holiday, and it's worldwide now. It's kind of amazing. My brother was talking about when he had to go to China for work a number of different times, and there's a tiny population of Christians, yet there's Christmas stuff all over. There's Santa Claus everywhere in China. Industrial Revolution. You want to do something nice for your kids. What country did it begin in? You said it. What country? Just like the call of domesticity. What country did it begin in?
Britain.
Think logically. Industrial Revolution, where did it begin? Tie things together. What author would write A Christmas Carol? Have you ever heard of The Christmas Carol? A famous English author by the name of Charles Dickens. He invented that whole story from whole cloth about Christmas and gifts. Oh, sure, there were gifts presented, but nothing like that. He invented it. He's an English author. That's A Christmas Carol right there. Christmas tree, they took just a winter solstice festival in Germany, and that's the only way to have Christmas trees. So think about Christmas. You want to do something nice for your kids. And what's the other factor? Buying stuff. You have these companies producing stuff. So what did companies start to do? They promoted Christmas so they could sell stuff. You want to be nice to your kids. Creates demand. That's how modern Christmas came about. Industrial Revolution, fewer kids want to be nice to them. Stores want to sell stuff. Why do you think they advertise it so much? Why do you think? They want to sell stuff as quick as possible. That's where Christmas comes from. Speaking of Christmas, who would become to represent Christmas? Invention of the Industrial Revolution. Here's a Thomas Nast cartoon from 1862. That's for Santa Claus. Oh, sure, there's a compilation of various things. We're not going to go into the shocking Dutch Christmas winter solstice characters. Ugh. But there's Santa Claus. There's a Thomas Nast cartoon, the famous cartoonist. Within 50 years, Santa Claus is ubiquitous. Yeah, Industrial Revolution. Almost so many of the holidays are going to come out of that. Once they come up with cheaper ways to produce paper products and then printing and then cards, and that's you have Mother's Day, things like that. Industrial Revolution. That didn't exist before. Halloween, 1950, sell candy on TV. That's what Halloween. That if you go trick-or-treating, that's 1950s. Technology. Doesn't mean it's bad. I love this one. Here's Santa Claus, 1863. That's how quickly it came out, greeting the troops in the Civil War. It's kind of amazing how this all happened. So we can blame or thank the Industrial Revolution. One more thing for the next slide. Somebody asked about this first period, so I put this up. You ever seen this? What does that mean? This is Christmas. That's Greek, Chris. That's all it means, it's just Christmas. I had some people say, oh, they're anti-Christmas, and they want to get rid of the elements of Christmas. No! In fact, does anybody know the first sign for Christianity? It wasn't a cross. That's where it comes from. It's Greek letter, but Chris Paul, but it means essentially the Father. Yeah, it wasn't a cross. And I should also have an early Christianity, because the Romans and the Greeks pushed it. Jesus was clean shaven. All right, so.
Oh. Look at all those.
Attention. Let me ask you one simple question. Who don't we trust?
The girl in the front.
She did something. Yeah, she robbed a bank or something.
And the girl sitting next to her, she looks like she's seen something.
Yeah. I like him. I trust him. I trust her. I trust her. She's up to something too. And look at him. You know what we should do? A brainstorm list. No, we'll try this again. A brainstorm list. Yay. Okay. What are the factors of the Industrial Revolution? We have so many factors, everything from court cases to where it started to new economic system. In your margin, as quick as you can, do 15 or 20 things. Any event, people, place, philosophy, economic system. Hey, we have 2 things involving hands. Financial, finance would be one, right? Give you all kinds of transportation stuff. Oh. Try to get as many as you can, and then if you go back and peek, go back and peek. We have people who did inventions. We have lots of innovation. Still on. Try to come up with as many as you can. Think about all the inventions we have, economic system. Where did it start? What product was produced? What was the average height? We even mentioned taller, eating more meat, and all kinds of stuff. Go peek if you have to and see if it'll trigger small memories. Oh yeah. Do it. Jeez. One more, you can do it. Even the stuff you wouldn't necessarily use in an essay, just get down stuff. Who was the president? There are court, remember all those court cases? Remember all those court cases? There's politicians we talk a little bit about. Is pizza a product of the Industrial Revolution? Yes! Thank you, Ireland. Let's say Ireland, Italy. Well, I like Ireland too, so thank you, Ireland. Irish pizza's good too. All right, this is what I want you to do now. So you get in groups of 2 or 3, just look at the person across from you, and go through your list together. Quick, go through and see if you had ones that you... Okay, to go behind. Just turn around. You too. They're good. They're good, good. Just go through and see if there's anyone you didn't get. Still making your list? Look at your list. I want to see it now. It's all typed up. Oh, you guys. Diet. Socialism, very good. Court cases. Oh, Henry Clay, Henry Crow. All right. Free market. Did everyone have very close to the same ones? Who had Watt? The steam engine. Who had Samuel Slater? Memorizing who had textiles? Who had Adam Smith? Who had capitalism? Who had wage system? Very good. Who had War of 1812? Remember, that's what triggered it. But once I said it, oh, I remember that. Who had Britain? Just Britain, where it started. Who had cult of domesticity? How about laissez-faire economics? Very good. Who had Henry Clay? American system. Who did the interchangeable parts? Whitney. Who made them? Whitney. Eli Whitney. Who had John Deere? McCormick. McCormick's the Reaper. Who had Morse? Who had anything we didn't mention? Anybody want to name one? Great one. Women's rights step back. That's a great one, but you know what I mean. A great topic for that. If you believe in equal rights, that's a bad thing. Yeah. Yeah, invisible hand. Very good. Yeah. Say it again. Oh yeah, transportation. Yeah. Say it again. Yeah, Gibbons versus Ogden. Now, really important case for that. Yeah. Immigration. Yeah. Yeah, Monroe Doctrine. Yeah. And Yeah, temperance. Yeah. Holidays, yeah. By the way, weekends are coming. Labor unions will fight very hard, and you have this thing called a weekend because of workers. Oh, one more thing I want to tell you. Remember, did anybody put down labor unions? Labor unions is good. And then, you remember I told you about collective bargaining? That's the contract they signed. Let me tell you one thing that happened. So, the United Auto Workers just got a contract with the big 3 auto companies in America. Toyota, Honda, they also make Toyota. Couldn't say the word. Toyota, Honda, they make it, but they're not union workers. They pay them less. Does anybody want to guess what Toyota did to their workers when the UAW signed a big contract increase?
Hire them. Let them go.
They gave them a big raise. Toyota workers got a huge raise because they don't want the union. Unions raise wages. If you do it on your own, there's no union.
There's more than just wages.
Well, the teachers union will talk. It's the administration. Teachers union.
That's the whole point of the whole shutting down their administrative market.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do more.
I think you should just go straight.
The problem, I mean, that's really scary for young people. And another thing is too, you don't want that, folks. And then we have to make it all obvious.
We should do the French.
I mean, but there's other ways that you guys can start.
That's coming.
I predicted if somebody doesn't get a little right up here, they're just not.
We'll know at the end of the month. Some big stuff. All right, everybody. I gave you the reading assignment yesterday. It's due on Friday. Tomorrow we talk about thesis statements. You can have it. You want me to have it? Oh, thank you. Hey, anyone get Kit Kats for?
We should remember this.
Kit Kats are pretty darn. Oh, Kit Kats are a product of the Industrial Revolution. Anyone put that down?
Oh no.
They really are. It's a working man snack, so you can buy while you're working. Wow. Couldn't make the play. Thank you. Let me do one more thing really quick. Have a good day, everybody. Let's shut the camera off. We're leaving there.